Resident Bill of Rights, a presentation by Surge Learning. This module has been developed for all staff who work in Ontario long-term care. This presentation is general in nature and suitable for all audiences. You should review your employer's policies regarding the Bill of Rights. What does the word home mean to you? Is it the bricks and mortar, or a place where family and friends support each other? Do you have wonderful feelings of comfort and great food with those you love? And is it the place where you can relax and just be you? What do you think the word home means to those living in long-term care? Is it the bed that they sleep in a room with someone else? Is it a schedule that does not suit them at all? And is it other people telling them what should or should not happen? The Bill of Rights for people living in long-term care in Ontario is based on the foundation that long-term care homes should be as home-like as possible. Home-like in all areas of care, including physical, psychosocial, social, spiritual, and cultural. The Bill of Rights is part of the Long-Term Care Homes Act 2007. This bill must be posted in a visible location. It is law and must be followed. To better understand the Bill of Rights, you may wish to refer to the Long-Term Care Homes Act 2007 or to the guide for this act, which explains the details in everyday language. The publication by CLEO, the Community Legal Education Ontario, is an excellent resource for staff, residents, and family. Please refer to the Resources tab for the links just to the top right corner of this presentation. The Bill of Rights has 27 rights. These rights are grouped into 7 main categories: dignity and respect, prevention of abuse, care and services, consent and choice, minimization of restraint, communication, concerns, and complaints, as well as financial security. Let's look at each category more closely. Category 1. Dignity and respect. Dignity is the right to be valued, worthy, and appreciated. In this category, the emphasis is on courtesy, treating people as individuals, being respectful of their privacy and possessions, as well as supporting their cultural and religious interests. Your work in long-term care means that you come across situations that require a respectful approach or plan of care. Consider this list and check off those situations that you might think are not respectful and click Submit to continue. That's right, you selected the correct response. Let's review the answers. The situations that are considered disrespectful include using pet names, as this does not recognize the individuality of the person. A bathing schedule that fits your routine is not considering the individual and may cause a responsive behavior. Entering a room without knocking does not respect privacy. And not telling people your name is suggesting that you are in charge and the person does not need to know your name. Modifying your routine, however, is a very respectful way of meeting the person's needs. Consider this case scenario where we explore the right to pursue cultural or religious interests. Atifa is Muslim and practices her Islamic faith. She likes to pray 5 times per day, but is unable to do so on her own. How could you provide dignified and respectful care for her? At first you might think, really? 5 times per day? I can never work around that. Yet, as a team which includes the nursing department, programs and volunteers, along with community, this is manageable. It does take some initial planning. Here are some ideas. Ensure the prayer audio recording is on at the right time. Modify her care routine around her prayer schedule. Connect with the Islamic community to support her and learn more about her faith and what it means to her. Engage the support of family, the Islamic community, volunteers, and programs, and support visits from family members at all prayer times. Here is another typical situation to consider. Mary loves living in the home area of Sugar Maples. The staff are great and always a lot of fun. She feels like family. Maybe too much like family, though. She wishes the door to the bathroom would get shut when she is in there, and she definitely doesn't like the nurse discussing Henry's bladder problems in the dining room. You as a caregiver become very comfortable with hygiene and bathroom routines. So comfortable that this becomes as routine as day and night. The person you care for, however, will likely find each experience of intimate care to be uncomfortable. Without meaning to, we can become too casual about privacy. Here are some suggestions. Make it a habit when giving care to knock before you enter and introduce yourself again and again, because people may be confused, and habit means you never forget. Keep doors shut or curtains drawn when providing care. Uncover only the part of the body that you need to. And all private conversations with and about the people you care for must be in a private place. 6 of the 27 rights fall under the category dignity and respect. To review what specific rights are in this category, you can refer to the handout that we have attached in the Resources tab to the top right of your screen. Category 2. Prevention of abuse. In this category, we are reminded that people living in long-term care are vulnerable. They may have responsive behaviors and may not be able to speak for themselves. They count on you to keep them free from abuse in all areas, including physical, emotional, financial, sexual, verbal, and neglect. In the following 6 slides, please select true or false for each of the statements pertaining to abuse and neglect. Click Submit after you have made your selection to proceed to the next slide. True or false? Physical abuse includes rough handling.
That's right. You selected the correct response.
Financial abuse includes someone taking the person's possessions without asking.
That is correct.
Sexual abuse includes inappropriate touching.
You select.
Verbal abuse includes yelling or threatening.
That's correct.
Emotional abuse includes being treated like a child or belittled.
That's right.
Neglect is not providing the care that the person needs.
That is the correct response.
To prevent abuse, you need to be aware of activities that may happen during care that gets the work done but are abusive. Then you can find other strategies that are more respectful. Let's review these examples in the next slides. Meet Elizabeth. Elizabeth has a mental illness and also has dementia. She hates bathing or showering, and she always puts up a fight. Most times, staff give up and don't bathe her. Today she has a very unpleasant odor, and no one wants to be near her. You are concerned about her skin condition. You know that she needs a good bath and a chance for you to check her skin. You and your teammate decide Elizabeth is getting a bath today, no matter what. Both of you tug and push her down the hall as best you can. She is shouting and resisting. You persist and get her into the tub. This rough handling, however, is abusive. It is disrespectful and can easily result in injury to Elizabeth and staff. A better strategy would be to consult with your psychogeriatric resource team and physician. We do not want to give medication as a chemical restraint. However, there are some medications used appropriately to calm Elizabeth's fears and improve her functioning. The team may also suggest that the tub and shower are fearful and a sponge bath at the bedside might be better. Letting Elizabeth choose how and when might give her some control that she needs. At times, music and aromatherapy improve mood. Elizabeth may also have a time in the day where she functions better than at others. Use this time of day for those interventions where she needs more support. Let's look at a new scenario with Jacob. The staff are upset about caring for a newly admitted person, Jacob. He is easily frustrated, and when this happens, he spits at the staff. In this situation, Jacob is unhappy, and the staff are also frustrated at this abuse from Jacob. Jacob often has these episodes of responsive behavior in the dining room. Staff are so upset at being spit at, they threaten Jacob that if this happens again, they will take him back to his room and he will not get his lunch. This threatening action is humiliating and verbal abuse. A better strategy is to remember Jacob has an underlying dementia, and therefore consider the possible cause and other alternatives. If he spits, staff will remove Jacob from the area where he could spit on staff or others. Then they take some time to talk to him and to understand what prompts this behavior. There may be something about the dining room activity that upsets him. Sometimes this strategy is not effective and he spits at staff again. When this happens, tell him calmly, "Jacob, you cannot spit on me. I'm going to leave you alone now. I will come back in 5 minutes, and you can let me know if you are ready for lunch." This small breakaway helps to calm the situation without threatening Jacob. In this case example, we are discussing the inappropriate use of incontinent products. Elsa has dementia and has been living at home. She has remained continent because her husband reminded her to go to the bathroom. On admission for respite, you placed Elsa in incontinent briefs. This is an example of neglect because it puts Elsa's emotional and physical well-being at risk. It can be overwhelming when you consider all of the things to remember in your busy day, and reminding Elsa about the bathroom may seem too much. Placing someone in an incontinent brief places their physical and emotional well-being at risk. This can affect their self-esteem and can have a negative impact on their ability to remain continent. Take a few moments to consider a better strategy. Learn about the usual routine by talking with Elsa and her husband and include them in the care plan. The care plan should be clear to everyone and will likely say, "Remind every 2 hours." Fit those reminders into the typical times when you would interact, then it does not seem like more work. These times might include before meals, before snacks, before naps and bedtimes, before care, and before programs. And remember that this is a team effort. Many people can get involved. The nurse on med rounds, personal support workers, at any care time, and programs staff when they come to get her for an activity. 2 of the 27 rights pertain to the category Prevention of Abuse. We have included the Bill of Rights broken down into the 7 categories, and you can find them in the Resources tab. Category 3. Care and Services. In this category, the focus is on food, shelter, safe environment, and care and assistance. Care and assistance is not only care to maintain the person's function, but to try to improve it as much as possible. True or false? A person whose ambulation has deteriorated while they were living at home is entitled to the restorative services in long-term care.
That's right. You've selected the correct response.
True or false? A person can expect garbage to be removed regularly in order to reduce odors.
That is the correct answer.
Here's a situation regarding Michael, newly admitted to long-term care. Before you consider these case examples, take a moment to think about yourself and your fond memories of home cooking. Michael is not eating well and is losing weight. He does not like the food or textures. His table mates do not speak, and he is bored at mealtime. Michael wants to leave. In providing individualized care and service, you will ensure that Michael is offered the menu choices. Refer Michael to the dietitian who can assess his past eating habits. Remember that social time improves appetite and eating. Discuss some seating options so that Michael may enjoy conversation with other table mates. And get Michael involved in programs and outings that may offer other menu options. This will keep him interested. The category Care and Services has 3 of the 27 rights. You can find those rights in the Resources tab. Category 4. Consent and Choice. In the category of consent and choice, the focus is on making the person's participation in decision-making and the right to give or refuse consent around the care plan and treatment options. It also includes consent about sharing confidential healthcare information. Choice means that persons having the right to form friendships and relationships and to sharing a room with a person of their choice. Everyone has a unique lifestyle, and these choices are accepted. Persons who are very ill or dying have the right to have someone with them 24 hours per day. And finally, persons living in long-term care should have access to outdoor space where possible. Jason is capable. Jason needs admission to long-term care. He prefers a home that meets his lifestyle and not the home that his family has chosen. Can Jason make his own choice? Click on Yes or No and click Submit to continue.
That is correct. Jason is capable and is able to make the decision that suits him best.
Susan has difficulty with banking. She is, however, able to manage her hygiene, grooming, and other medical care needs. She is admitted to long-term care. All care decisions are referred to her daughter. Should Susan be able to make these decisions herself?
That is correct. Susan may not be capable in some areas, but she is capable of making care decisions.
In this example, the person, the physician, and the son do not agree. This is not a situation of who is right or wrong, rather a situation where the person must make their own decision when given all of the information. They have a right to be supported in doing this. Gord is capable and understands the pros and cons of treatment decisions. The physician would like Gord to take a new medication that will improve his mood. Gord is uncomfortable about this, and he refuses and prefers a second opinion. The physician and Gord's son says that it is not necessary. To support Gord's right to consent and choice, you will learn a little bit more about what he is feeling and what he needs. Ensure Gord has all of the necessary information about taking or refusing this medication. Discuss with him his concerns and fears about this, and offer some other options such as music, massage, and other non-medicinal therapeutic treatments. If Gord still wants a second opinion, he is able to make this choice, and staff must follow through on his request for a referral. The category Consent and Choice has 7 of the 27 rights. You can find those in the Resources tab. Category 5. The minimization of restraints. You are likely very familiar with minimization of restraints. Restraints include physical or mechanical restraints, such as bed rails and lap belts. They can also include medication or chemical restraints, as well as environmental restraints such as secured units. The Long-Term Care Homes Act requires other alternatives to be explored before using restraints. In emergency situations where there is evidence to suggest harm to self and others, restraints may be used for a very short period of time under very clear rules. The person or their substitute decision maker must also give consent for a restraint to be used. Josephine has suffered from mental illness most of her life. She remains capable to give consent. The long-term care home wishes to admit her to a secured unit. The process must include which of the following? Select one of the options. Josephine must be informed of the pros and cons and give or refuse consent. You are correct. In this case example, we will consider when restraints are appropriate in an emergency situation. The key here is that this must be a temporary solution only. Everything that the nurse and the PSWs have tried have failed. Now that Jack is threatening to bash someone and is throwing chairs, the nurse decides in this emergency situation and without Jack's consent that he needs to receive medication, a chemical restraint. 4 days later, Jack is still receiving this medication. After this type of episode, the nurse must contact the physician and a very clear plan must be in place. The chemical restraint was for an emergency. The healthcare team must then debrief and consider the cause of the episode and all other interventions such as referrals, consultants, social work, programs, and so on. In other words, do not continue emergency chemical restraints without due diligence, a physician's order, and of course, consent. The category Minimization of Restraints has one of the 27 rights. You can find that in the Resources tab. Category 6. Communication, Concerns, and Complaints. We communicate for many reasons and in many different ways. The key here is that the person is well informed and the long-term care home is transparent in their policies and procedures. The person may have a delegate to receive information or may have an advocate or a support person with them. The person who often shares a room and always shares other spaces in the home has the right to have a private space made available to them. Important information about the home's policies must be provided in writing, especially when there is a change to accommodation requirements. In the next 4 slides, please select True or False and click Submit to continue through each of the questions. Let's take a look at the first question. A person can request that a family member be informed immediately regarding a transfer to hospital. That's right, you selected the correct response. A person can make a complaint to a government official by calling the toll-free long-term care action line. You are correct. A person may request access to a private room, if available, in order to spend time with their spouse or other person. You got it. Last question. True or false? The long-term care home has made a change in their accommodation policy. They must inform all residents or their substitute decision maker. You selected the right answer. A number of things are in this case example: a right to privacy, a right to complain, and a right to do so without repercussions. Petra and Sam are a married couple who share a room with 2 others. They made a request in advance to have a private space together for one afternoon. This request was denied with no explanation. They complained to residence council, who took the complaint forward. Petra and Sam were teased by some of the staff. Here are some options. First of all, think about living in a communal environment where every moment of every day in a resident's life has the potential for intrusion by staff, volunteers, and roommates. Would you like that in your own life? Private rooms, where possible, must be made available upon request. People may want to have a very confidential conversation or have some moments of affection and/or intimacy. With that being said, why the person wants this private space is also private. Anyone who teases or responds in an unkind way is in violation of the right to an abuse-free home. The category Communication, Complaints and Concerns outlines 7 of the 27 rights, and again, you can find this in our Resources tab. We've reached our final category, category number 7, Financial. Individuals who are in need of care, at home or in long-term care, are often vulnerable to financial abuse by family, friends, staff, and even strangers. There may be a desire to make things easier for the person by insisting that they use the home's trust account. However, sometimes the individual is capable of managing their financial affairs and prefer to maintain their banking arrangements. The important point here is that they get to choose how involved they wish to be in their financial affairs. Sebastian is capable. He is moving to long-term care to be with his spouse. He needs some support with hygiene and ambulation. In setting up his account with the home, Sebastian A. must set up a trust account, B. must direct his pensions to his trust account for his care, C. may continue to keep his own bank account outside of the home or set up a trust account only if he wants to do so, or D. both A and B are correct. Click on your answer and click Submit to continue. You selected the correct answer. In this example, we must be aware that cognition changes over time. A person may be capable upon admission, but not for a few years later. They may become vulnerable to financial abuse. As time progressed, Sebastian was diagnosed with dementia and was not making good decisions regarding his money. There was reason to believe some people were taking advantage of him. In this case, reassess Sebastian's capacity and ability to manage his financial affairs. Confirm the power of attorney or substitute decision maker. If he doesn't have a power of attorney or substitute decision maker, or you feel that he is being taken advantage of by his POA or substitute decision maker, you may need to contact the public guardian and trustee. Through all of this, keep Sebastian involved as much as possible. The category Financial has one of the 27 rights. You can find it in the Resource tab. People who believe that their rights have been violated have options available to them. They may make a complaint to the long-term care home, who has a printed policy on the complaints process. The home must report critical incidents such as abuse to the ministry. The person may make a complaint at the same time or separately to the ministry by calling the action line or sending a written summary. By law, these complaints must be followed up, discussed with the person, and an action plan must be developed. Further to the complaints process, a person may get legal advice, call the police if they feel that a crime has been committed, contact the Human Rights Tribunal or the Advocacy Center for the Elderly. The resources utilized to develop this module are right at your fingertips. Check out our Resources tab for more information. In summary, today you have learned about the 27 rights in 7 categories, as well as how to file a complaint or concern. You have also learned about references for more information. You may also review your employer's policies or speak to your manager. Thank you for joining us today for our module on the Bill of Rights for persons who live in Ontario long-term care homes.
you.